Welcome to this demo in which we are going to talk about how we can create a simple pipeline in order to perform the deployment to a Tomcat Apache here. So for this one, we need two pieces. One is the repository. We already got this repository here in which we are preparing a var file. Using the Maven build, we are going to create a var file here. We already have the Jenkins pipeline here, and we'll see like how we can use this pipeline here. Plus we also have the Tomcat server, which we have because we are going to ultimately do the installation of Tomcat Apache and configure it up so that we can access it. So let's see first that how we can do the configuration of Tomcat Apache. So first, as a prerequisite, what you need to do is that we need to install the JDK. So we have to run the app update command so that we can get the latest patches and updates. Because it's a fresh server, so we have to run the app update command first. Now after this, what we need to do is that we need to invoke, we need to install the JDK here. JDK is required because using the JDK only we will be able to have the Tomcat Apache up and running here. So we are going for the apt install default -JDK. So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to install here that the JDK installation is required. Now Tomcat Apache is a kind of application server, or you can say as a web server also we can use it for the Java based application. So the moment you install these, so the application will be up and running, but yes, you have to install that. Again, when it comes to the configuration in Jenkins, we have a deploy to container plugin, which we will talk about like how we can invoke it, because it gives us the flexibility that how the executions and the setups can be done. Now what we need to really do is that we need to see like how the deployments can be done, how we can perform the integration. So we are going for this Tomcat server over here. So we are installing the JDK for now, but yes, once the JDK is installed, we will be going for the Tomcat Apache installation. Now the installation for Tomcat Apache is also two ways. One is manual and one is using the apt command. So we will be saying the Tomcat 9 over here using the apt command, and if you want to go for the latest version of Tomcat, then you can go for the manual steps from the Tomcat Apache website, and you can go for that also. So but here we are going to do it into a limited way, into a automated way with the help of the apt commands here. So meanwhile this JDK installation is going on, we can pretty much go to the Jenkins, and here we can go to the manage Jenkins because we wanted to have the plugin. We can go to the manage plugins, and here in the available tab you can search for a plugin called deploy to container. Now this plugin is there to deploy it up to the Glassfish, Tomcat Apache and JBoss. So all these three application servers we can use it using this one. So you're going to select this plugin and say download now and install after restart. So the moment you're going to do this, the plugin will be installed. It will be configured up over here in this one, but sometimes we really need the restart in order to get it activated. So you can just select this option. You can do the manual restart also using the service command, but you can select this option here so that the Jenkins will be restarted here. The whole restart of Jenkins will be performed, and we will be able to get the option. Now this is something which is supporting both the Freestyle and the Jenkins pipeline project, so both of them are being required there, right? So meanwhile this is getting bounced, we can actually go and continue with the installation of Tomcat Apache because the JDK installation is already done there. So what you're going to do is that next you're going to run the command called apt install Tomcat 9 and Tomcat 9-admin, because Tomcat 9 will help us to install the Tomcat Apache, but we really wanted to configure the admin, the dashboard, the manager dashboard also, because Jenkins usually connect to that admin, to that manager dashboard, so that it can do the deployment remotely. We are not going to install this Tomcat Apache on the same server where the Jenkins is deployed. We are actually going for a remote call, like a remote deployment, which means like we will be having the Jenkins server, and the Jenkins server will be performing the deployment to this Tomcat Apache, which is again deployed remotely in some different location. So that's how we are maintaining, or we are going for this deployment here. So apt install Tomcat 9, Tomcat 9-admin, that's something which we are trying to run. And the moment you enter this, like you will be going for the installation, like the whole deployment or the installation process you are following over here. So Tomcat installation is what we are trying to achieve. We are trying to configure it up over here. So once the installation is done, you are pretty much seeing like it's getting installed. Like if you go to the etc Tomcat 9 here, so in this directories you will be able to see like the configurations, different XML files or different configuration files which is available here. So we are trying to configure, we are trying to set up over here that how these configurations are really going to be performed and going to be executed here. So it's going to give you the detailed information like how the executions can be done, and you can go for the overall setup. So yes, you have the Tomcat 9, this directory which is available there, etc Tomcat 9, where the configurations are there. Now once you got this one, all you can do is that you can just access the public IP address. It's also Tomcat also uses the 880 port, so here also you're going to use the 880 port here, and you will see a particular admin, like a particular page over here. It's also giving you an information, if you see, like it's saying that okay, if you want to access the admin, the manager web app and those dashboards, you can open those, right? It's going to ask for the username password, but we don't have the username password. So for the security purposes, these are being restricted. You have to put the username passwords, but how you're going to create the users? So you have to create the users in this configuration file. So you are being given the information that this is what you need to do, and you need to have the admin GUI and the particular manager GUI. These are the two options which is required there, right? So we can create a Tomcat user in the Tomcat Apache, so that using that I can also log in from my browser, and eventually the Jenkins also can be logged into that using that credential. So that's why these credentials are very important. So what I can do is I can go to my server and I can configure this Tomcat users.xml files here. Now towards the end, we can see like some dummy, like some committed values are there. So similarly, I can also put one role here, like a one user definition here, that this is the user configurations which we really wanted to configure, we wanted to establish here. So what we are trying to do is that we are going for the username is equal to I'm going for the Tomcat as a username, and password, again I'm going to give the particular password over here in this one, and that's what we are trying to do, that's what we are trying to achieve here. And then we are giving the roles here. So in the roles we are defining like how the particular executions can be done, can be performed here. So we can give the manager -GUI, admin -GUI, and manager -script. These are the rules which is required over here. So username password, you can put anything. I mean, I've just provided these values, but yes, if you want, you can have these different roles which you are trying to define here. And the purpose of these roles is that so that we can have all these kind of permissions under these roles. These are the only roles which is required, because again, using this username password, we will also be able to connect to Tomcat Apache, and at the same time we will be using the same username password within my Jenkins also to get it deployed. So in both the cases, it's going to perform the same. So I'm going to save it up here, and I'm going to just save this one, and here just restart of Tomcat 9 is required here, right? So I should be able to log in, because Tomcat is the user and password is the password, and if the credentials are great, so as you can see, like I got connected to the Tomcat Apache here, and it's working fine perfectly here. So this is a way that how exactly we can go for the executions, like we can pretty much handle like what are the different setups we can do, and we can perform it up here, right? So this is a way that how the setups or the Tomcat Apache configuration is there. I have the IP address, I have the username, I have the password. That's all what we need there. Now, since I'm in the Jenkins pipeline, but before that, let's see like how we can like trigger the Jenkins pipeline here, because clearly we have already got a repository where the pipeline is available, but we may have to do some changes, because again the deployment to the Tomcat Apache may varies, because it's a different Tomcat Apache, the URL changes, the password changes, a lot of information usually gets changed over the period of time. So let's see. So this is the repository which I have got. I have got the Jenkins file, I have got the pom.xml file. So pom.xml file is there. We have the clean mvn clean package, mvn clean install command, using which we can create the var files. And once that is done, we can go and we can invoke, or we can have the specific like deployment done, like build automation, test cases, and deployment done there. So if I look upon for the Jenkins file, because this is a pipeline script which we are going to invoke. So here the very first thing is that we are checking out the source code, that what source code we have checked out over here. So that's what we are trying to do, and we are trying to perform it up over here, because ultimately we are trying to see like how the executions can be done. Then we are going to invoke the build automation, like the build trigger can be done, and then we are going for the test cases executions. That's kind of test execution which we are trying to do. If you have the SonarQube, then you can go for the SonarQube integration also. We are going to archive the artifacts, and then we are triggering the deployment. So this is the same deploy to container plugin which is available there. This is a credential for Tomcat. This does not exist, so we have to create that. Then the URL of the Tomcat Apache is there, and then we have the particular URL which is available, and then we have the context path which is available, and then the var file which is available there. So these are the things we can use, and we can trigger it up on this particular pass, right? So these are the way that how we can trigger the deployments as such. And then we have the stage for the notification, which is like sending the email notifications also, to see like how the email notifications can be sent out there, right? So let's trigger this one onto the Jenkins jobs to see like how exactly this can be done, and we can get the particular things up and running. But we have to configure this thing also, because this really changes up, because the URL is different. So this is the URL which we have got now, so I have to put this URL instead of that URL, because that URL does not exist. And so I'm going to replace that value here. Also we can give the context root, like what context root you want to give. For example, I can give some value as counter web app. You can give this value. So depending, because here when you go to the manager, you see like /manager, so that's a kind of a context root. Host -manager, that's also context root. So root we don't want to replace, because on root this whole Tomcat Apache manager is running. So we really wanted to provide the configurations or this context root over here properly. So I'm providing the counter web app over here. So the target var file is the one which we want to deploy, and this Tomcat creds. So right now it's disabled, so I'm going to just enable it up here, so that I will be able to invoke, or I will be able to have this particular deployment done here. But again, the Tomcat creds credentials is required, because in order to connect to the Tomcat Apache, we have the Tomcat username and password. So that's something which we need here. So before even invoking this pipeline, what we can do is that we can go to the manage Jenkins, and we can go to the manage credentials, and here we can create a credential, like, because we really wanted to set up that here. So we can go for the add credentials, and here the username, again it's going to be Tomcat, and password is password, and we are going to put the ID here, that what ID we wanted to configure, and the ID and description, both the things we wanted to configure, we wanted to provide here. And that's all what we are trying to do, the credential type here. The moment we are done with this, so what will happen, that we will be able to have a credential like a Tomcat creds which has been created over here. So we can use this one, we can have this particular value, that okay, this is the credential we are going to use, and these credentials will be used by the particular pipeline here. So this pipeline is already using this credentials to authenticate to Tomcat Apache. So let's see like how we can authenticate. So we can get the repository URL, like we can get the repo URL here, and see that how the configurations can be done. So we can go to the new item. So here we can go for the CI/CD pipeline. So that's what we are trying to configure here, that this CI/CD pipeline automation is what we are trying to do. We are trying to configure here. So we are selecting the particular automations, like how exactly we can go and we can perform the automations as such. So that's the kind of work which we are trying to do. We are trying to set it up over here, and we can select the pipeline here, and we'll say okay. And of course we have to put there. So all the other options like general, build triggers remain the same, but instead of build, and post build actions, what happens is that we will be able to get get the pipeline. So we can hard code the pipeline also, but yes, if you feel like you want to get it from the particular Git repository, so that's also something you can do, you can achieve here. So we have the second option here, pipeline script from SCM. So once you select this option, so what will happen is that you will be checking out this repo, and we'll see like how exactly the executions can be done, and we can perform it on this particular thing here, right? So that's how the overall mechanism is being done. So we go for the Git here, and here we have to of course provide the repo link and the credentials. So what will happen that it automatically picks up here that Jenkins file is a script path. So it's going to pick that script path here and start running it. So if you have any other name of the pipeline, you can specify that also, and corresponding to that it will be picked up. So any changes you wanted to do to the build step, you're going to do it into these particular pipeline scripts to this Jenkins pipeline here. So the moment you save it up here, you're going to invoke the build. So the build process, the test cases, all those things are going to be executed. It is going to follow a particular sequence. You can have a lot of stages. If you want to induce a little bit more stages, you can do that also, but these are the generic basic stages which is available there. Again, it's going for the overall build process. So but yes, towards the end it's actually going to connect. So it says attempting to deploy one var file, because as per the standards, as per the particular pattern, so star.var file, there is only one var file. So it's deploying to the this var file to the Tomcat 9, whatever the things we have configured, and counter web as is the context root. So you can see like it's not deployed earlier, so it's doing a fresh deployment, and that's something which is done there. And ultimately in the end you are also sending the email notifications. Now if I trigger this build again, so since again we have got the deployment done, because I can go to the Tomcat Apache and visit it. But if I'm trying to do the frequent build, so it will automatically undeploy, uninstall the var file, and deploy the fresh one also. So you don't have to do a manual steps in order to uninstall an existing var file and get a new deployment done also. You can see here that it's doing the undeployment and then going for the deployment again there. So that's a kind of a replacement which is being done over here automatically. So if you go to the Tomcat Apache, if you revisit here, refresh the page, you will see like your counter web application here. You can access it and you will start getting the sample page over here in this one, that how these things is really going to happen there, right? So you will get a complete stage view here. If everything is successful, checkout, build, test cases, SonarQube archive, deployment, notification, everything is going to be done here, and you will be able to know like which stage is successful, which stage is not successful, and a kind of a consolidated details is what you have got pretty much over here in this one. So this is a kind of benefit we are going to get with the help of the CI/CD pipeline when we deploy it to the Tomcat Apache. So that's it for this demo, guys. Thank you.